You're listening to episode 18 of Post Production Podcast. Hello and welcome all you amazing people out there to Post Production Podcast. Thank you for joining us as we talk about the latest in movies and TV. I'm your host, Mr. Drew, and here with me, of course, is my co-host, Adam.
Yes. How's it going, Drew?
It's going. Going. How are you today?
It's going.
Yeah. So this week, we're going to talk about a couple of Netflix shows that came out. Interesting one we had on Super Bowl. We had the trailer for the Cloverfield Paradox kind of got thrown out, which nobody knew. I didn't know anything about it. Nobody saw it coming. And interesting enough, they actually dropped it on Netflix that day as well. Yeah.
I mean, it was brilliant the way they did that. I think it was really unexpected. I mean, the fact that you see this spot and then right at the end, it's just like streaming now. And that's really cool because no one's ever done that before. You know, so I thought that was pretty brilliant. So I was eager to get into it after seeing that.
It was brilliant in how they did that.
Yeah.
It was sneaky. Yeah. And I see why they did it.
Yeah.
Because it was utter garbage.
No. I disagree.
Okay, so and this is where I think it's brilliant, right? Because you're watching Super Bowl, you're watching all these fantastic commercials and you're having a laugh. I mean, the Thai commercials were hands down like the best.
Oh yeah.
And then you see this Cloverfield thing, and it's interesting because they started with the backtrack of like clips from the first movie, you know, which was interesting because they didn't show anything from 10 Cloverfield Lane. They just kind of was like, oh, you know, 10 years ago, blah 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 blah, and then they give you this kind of and then this is how it all comes about. Yeah. And then they give you a couple quick glimpses of this Cloverfield Paradox, and then they drop it on Netflix. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, fantastic marketing scheme.
Yeah.
You know, because everyone was excited for it. Everyone jumped on it.
Yeah.
Everyone watched it as soon as possible. And I think that the people who waited and then looked at the reviews were dissuaded after that. So I think they I think they did it for an initial push of viewership.
Yeah, because that's how you get people to just jump on and not worry about reviews or anything. It's, you know, if you just release it to a platform where almost everyone already has, they're just going to go on and stream it. They're not even going to bother with reviews or anything like that. They'll just turn on their TV and that's it. But okay, so basically, you had watched. You were about halfway through, and you told me, or I think you finished it, and you told me, don't even bother.
Yeah, I finished it, and I was like, don't even bother with it. Like,
and then later on, you said
it's not a priority.
Yeah, and then later on, you said, you know what? Watch it. I want to see what you think because we have to talk about this. I was like, okay, so I did. And to your surprise, I actually really, really enjoyed it. And to my surprise, no one else did. But you know what? Like, and this is, I think it might be the same reason why some people didn't like 10 Cloverfield Lane. Even though I thought 10 Cloverfield Lane was amazing, it just wasn't a sequel to Cloverfield. And that's why people were disappointed with that initially. They were like, that has nothing to do with the first Cloverfield. I was like, if you see the trailer, you don't really expect it to. You expect it to be like the same kind of vibe, but clearly it's not in the same kind of continuity, right? So that's how I went into this. I was like, okay, with the trailer or the TV spot, they did kind of connect it because they showed the old Cloverfield images. I don't know. I just wasn't attached to it being a direct sequel or explaining everything the way that everyone wants it to be explained. So I was like, all right, let's see what this is about. And it's definitely different. I mean, I'm happy with it because it's so different and because there's some really weird things that happen in this movie that I wouldn't imagine in a Cloverfield movie. Like, first of all, I wouldn't imagine anything to have to do with space or anything like that. But I did like the way they went about it, and the kind of reasoning they gave for the not explicit reasoning, but a very vague kind of reasoning as to
thin,
why.
You know,
but I'm okay with that, and I think that
misty,
I think
of foggy, you know, sort of like peeking through the shower glass. So is there somebody in there?
I think it's fine. I think that people are attached to the idea that I need all the answers right now. I think that's what I don't think people want to kind of use their imagination or connect the dots themselves. They want everything kind of connected for them. I get that, but I also get that this isn't the last Cloverfield movie. There's one slated for later this year coming out in theaters. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, and we talked about the trailer a little bit last week, and I was saying that I feel like it's becoming almost like a Black Mirror or something like that, where it's almost an anthology, right? And I would say it's somewhat kind of like that. I mean, overall, without spoilers, I liked it. I get why other people didn't like it, but as a fan of Cloverfield 1 and 2, it was good. I don't know. I can explain a little more in spoilers, but that's all for now.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It was okay. To your point, I'm not looking for all of the dots to be connected, but I mean, I at least want more than half of a fuzzy dot. Maybe like two or three dots. Not all the dots, but a couple more than just this vague fuzzy dot. It was okay. I mean, there were some aspects in it that I just really didn't get, and I think it really distracts from the movie because you see all these different things happening and you're going, what in any world why would that make any sense? I don't get it.
But I think okay, you go ahead. I'll finish later.
Yeah. And that's something that, in spoilers we'll kind of have some fun with. But I get your point of view where this is almost like an anthology where, instead of it actually being a Cloverfield sequel, it's like a Cloverfield story,
Yeah, not a Star Wars story.
It's not a Star Wars story, but like a Cloverfield story.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's fine, but then market it that way, because I really think that it was just a cheap shot to kind of explicitly kind of throw this out and be like, oh, 10 years later we find out why and blah blah blah, and it's like, no, we don't, and you just jacked us up for this kind of mediocre movie where the comedic elements were the best part of the movie. Instead of like the thriller sort of, sci-fi kind of,
I would disagree
other parts.
With that.
But, it was okay. I really wanted more though. I really did.
I get that. But okay, then spoilers right now for the Cloverfield Paradox. If you don't care, then you don't care. But before we get into spoilers though,
you shouldn't really care.
I should, since you're saying that, I'm going to say, at least try it out for yourself. If you're halfway through and you don't like it, just fine. You can turn it off. Yeah. But I think it is worth watching and kind of having your own opinion. Because, spoiler alert, the Rotten Tomatoes score is 16% right now. It's absolutely rotten to the core.
That makes sense.
But, I think it is a very divisive film. Because I've seen some videos and other things like kind of defending it, and it's funny because even the people that didn't really like it, they definitely liked elements of it. And of course, you're not gonna hate a movie through and through, but I think as people kind of were talking about it, they initially were like, yeah, it's not very good. Then they kind of talk about it, and they kind of explain all the things they like. And it ends up being a lot more than you would initially think from their
first impression.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, did you really hate it, or did you just kind of want to hate it? But I don't know.
No, but I mean, see, this is, and I think this is where some movies they're they're crossing over into these kind of vague categories where you sit down, you watch the movie, and you didn't enjoy it. You honestly did not enjoy it. You got up out of your seat, out of your lazy boy, or out of the theater chair, and you were like, yeah, man, that was just, yeah, I didn't, yeah, that was,
after some contemplation.
But then when you start to talk to somebody about it, you're like, oh yeah, this was cool, this was cool, this was cool. But that doesn't mean that your initial reaction to the movie should change. You know, well, you know, now, I guess now I could call it's an okay movie. No, because you initially, when you saw it, you were like, eh.
Well, I do think that, you know, just because you feel some way about a movie initially doesn't mean your opinion can't change. Maybe with another viewing or just with the same viewing, just at a different time. I think that is possible. Same thing with music, same thing with anything else. You know, your opinions can change.
It's a beer movie.
I don't think it is.
But I think beer is an acquired taste.
Oh, okay.
Just like this movie, it's an acquired taste. You know, you may not like the taste of it in the beginning, but as you force yourself to drink more of it, you might enjoy it later on in life.
Yeah, if your friends, you know, pressure you into.
And then when you come home after a hard day and you're like, oh, I just need to pop off a cold Cloverfield Paradox. Okay, yeah.
All right, spoilers on that note. First of all, I think anthology is a pretty good way of going about this because it almost has nothing to do with either of the other ones. The only real connections are, of course, the monster. We do see the monster from the first Cloverfield, but, you know, the timeline is all jumbled. You know, things are all over the place. And what I will say, and I think kind of the biggest thing about this whole movie, the whole point of it really, is the fact that they were in the space station, this particle accelerator. They're trying to make, you know, renewable energy for the entire world, and they ended up, you know, ripping space and time, and that caused all these things. And there was a line in the beginning. There was like a newscast, and this kind of crazy guy was going, "Oh, if we do this, we could, you know, rip space and time, and dimensions and monsters can come." And I watched it. I actually watched it twice. I have to say, I watched it twice because I watched it the first time, and then I watched it a second time with my brother because I wanted him to see it. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to watch it the second time, but I just kind of stuck around.
What was his initial impression?
Going through it, he was super confused. But at the end, he was like, all right, it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had told him what you said and was like, yeah, don't see it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to see it. So then I gave him my actual review, and I was like, I think you should. And I think that's the same thing with anyone. Like, just watch it. I think it's worth it to just check it out yourself. But anyway, in that way of ripping space and time, they kind of explain where these other movies could fall, because it's probably not in the same dimension. And they do actually confirm that there are different, like they have traveled to a different dimension in the movie. So there's, and if that can happen, there's not only Earth A and Earth B, there's C, D, E, F, G. There's all of these different ones.
Right.
So 10 Cloverfield Lane is on Earth, you know, number...
Earth ?
Exactly. And then Cloverfield, it could be very similar to the one that, you know, the one that they're in, but because it's the same monster. But I mean, that's something that I don't have the answers to, and that's something that they don't really bother with. But yeah, they just kind of tell you, hey, there's different dimensions in this universe. So basically anything is possible.
Well, and that's cool. I like the whole shattered kind of dimension and different, you know, kind of planes of reality and dimensions. But here's the thing. Where do the monsters come from?
It doesn't matter. It's a different dimension.
Because I get the whole kind of, you know, there's ultimate reality to our reality, but they're all the same, quote unquote, reality. You know, it's Earth, it's regular people, it's like, our planet, it's space, it's this and that. But now all of a sudden, you know, we've ripped a hole into what, where, and why. and that's where I just wanted a tiny little bit more kind of just something besides some the ravings of some mad scientist on a newscast.
But I mean, that is the closest way. I mean, how would we ever know about that kind of stuff? How could we track, oh, we're in this dimension, now we were in this dimension, and this is why? Like, and the whole movie is them trying to figure out what happened and why there's a lady in the wall and why the guy's arm got ripped off and is riding by itself and why this is happening. All of this stuff, like, they don't understand. It's because it's in a dimension that they're not familiar with. So all of these things are possible in this dimension. But, you know, I don't know. I thought it was clever because that's how people would react, like, in that situation. Mm-hmm. They're just utterly confused. Things are going crazy, and they're just doing their best to kind of deal with it and trying to get back to their old ways. So, I mean, in that whole way, like, I thought it was great. I thought it was the perfect little kind of story. You know, you don't need any more than that. I think the way they ended it, I think there could be potential for just seeing the main girl's story some more. I would like that, but the way Cloverfield is, like,
you don't know what you're going to get next. Yeah. So here's my question that I thought was a little bit kind of weird. Going into the whole kind of shattered dimensions and all these different realities and stuff like that, I get that, and that's cool, but the things that kind of threw me off, I mean, at one point we have this scene where the comedic guy on the show, which was my favorite character, I can't find his name to save my life because I don't have it up. But at one point he's like, "Hey man, where'd all the worms go?" And then one of the other crew members actually is like infested with these worms, and he explodes with these worms. And it's okay, there's kind of this weird, gory, scene, but it just doesn't add up. Like so I think it would have been fine just sticking with this weird shattered dimension kind of thing. But you've got these couple of weird elements of, oh, well, just this whole thing just explodes out of this guy and these worms, which wouldn't, necessarily physically be impossible.
Well, it's another thing where, these dimensions crossed over, and in that kind of, in the midst of that, things were kind of displaced, and the worms were over here. The lady was in the wall, the actual like gyro was in him as well. So like, I'm okay with all of that because it's not explained. Like, something happened and there's this rip in dimensions. They traveled to a different one, and then all of this crazy stuff started happening. And I don't expect a clear, kind of answer to that. I'm okay with that just being how it is. I mean, why is anything in the alien universe, why is that a thing? Why are chest bursters this? And I guess they're trying to, explain that now in the new movies. But like, there are always questions that, how does this actually work? What's the logistics? What's the actual like physics of this happening? It's a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, true. I would be interested to know, in the dimension in which this guy's arm flops around on its own, how the rest of life is in that particular splinter dimension. That would be crazy. Because it's
just
like,
imagine Earth.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I don't really have to worry about my arm, getting decapitated, because it'll just go on and live its own life and get married and have like little baby arms,
Yeah, exactly.
But anywho, check it out. It's an interesting sidestep to the whole Cloverfield, whatever genre. Yeah. Give us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, that's really all we have to kind of say about it. But yeah.
Okay.
All right. Moving on.
So another interesting series that came out on Netflix, and this is another kind of, in my opinion, it's another brilliant British quick series, and I love how some of their series that they how they kind of put them together. But it's called The End of the Fucking World.
Yes.
And I loved it. I absolutely,
Hilarious.
it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's really brisk, really quick. It's 8 20-minute episodes. It's a really quick binge.
8 20 minutes episodes, and it's a great guilty pleasure. It's
not even
fantastic,
it's just,
Yeah,
it's just you can finish this in an afternoon if not doing anything. You can just binge it all the way through, and it's worth it. Like it's a really good way to watch it. I watched it in pieces, but kind of a few episodes at a time, and it's really brilliant. It's just, the writing, the acting, the two leads are amazing.
Yeah, Jessica Barden and Alex Lothar they're fantastic. Steal this whole thing.
Alex Lothar, he's from an episode of Black Mirror. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's one of the craziest ones. But what is it called?
It's called
Shut Up and Dance.
Shut Up and Dance.
Yeah, season 3. So check that out if you're a fan of him. He's really good. But anyway, this show was a really pleasant surprise because I wasn't expecting it to be this good.
Yeah. Well, I love some of these British shows that come out they're just put together so well. No spoilers here, but the premise of the show, you have Alyssa and James, and Alyssa's played by Jessica Barden, and she is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
She's just spunky. She's a fireball.
Yeah,
she has her own mind, and she's going to speak it and just kind of follow it. And then you have James, which is played by Alex Lothar, who's just this total sort of social degenerate. He's just disconnected from everyone.
He thinks he's a psychopath.
Yeah, he thinks he's a psychopath. He's kind of like put himself on this mission that he wants to like kill someone.
Yeah. And
these two are just kind of thrown together, and they just go into this wild adventure together. And it's just their connection to each other and how they conquer things is just it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah. And and he's on a mission to kill her while she's basically falling in love with him. And it's just the craziest kind of, it's something that I've never seen before. And it's done in such a comedic way. It's not, there are dark elements to this show. It's like a dark comedy. Like that's what this thing is. Mm-hmm. Right. So the way that they write and the way that the dialogue is and the internal dialogue that they have, because there's scenes and they're interacting with each other, and then you'll just hear their inside voices. And that was my favorite part, because they're very honest with themselves.
Oh, yes.
And they're just like, they're amazing. And she's very different. I loved her particularly for that, because she has this kind of tough facade, this mask that she puts on. But inside she's like, all lovey-dovey towards James. And it's really funny.
And there are actually a ton of social issues in this as well, which you really wouldn't expect to find them, but family issues, social issues, harassment and assault issues. It's kind of everything kind of thrown in a big jumble bag, and it's definitely worth a watch. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, get some popcorn, Doritos, the new Doritos Blaze. Yeah, spicy,
pretty good.
Yeah, plug. Why not? But that's a fantastic Netflix series. Any other final thoughts on that?
No, just give it a shot.
Definitely give it a shot. So we had, we've been in anticipation of the new Deadpool 2 movie. We've had a couple of different teaser trailers, some really, fun ones. I think, what is his name? Oh man, Ryan.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, yeah. I think Ryan Reynolds is just.
I was like, what?
He's really promoting this movie, in a spectacular way. And a new trailer came out in which we finally kind of get introduced to Cable. Yes. Josh Brolin's character from the future in Deadpool 2, and he looks amazing. Yeah,
he's Josh Brolin he's gonna be great as this character, and we don't get a whole lot of him, but visually, he looks great, and I'm excited for their kind of interplay. Because Deadpool is he's a ball buster and he's just crazy. So it's going to be really funny to kind of see them both. Because I feel like Josh Brolin's Cable is going to be this very kind of serious character.
Yeah.
And I mean, the reality or the future that he comes from, you kind of see that in the trailer. It's very grim. Like, it's not very Deadpool-y. So when he comes into
Deadpool-y.
Yeah, it's not very Deadpool-y.
Perfect.
So when he comes into this reality with Deadpool, I'm ready for it to just be crazy. So
it's going to be a carnival, right? I mean, the first movie was just it was total visual and auditory and gut busting kind of episode, and I cannot wait for the second one. I think it's just going to be 100-fold, all the way to the wall.
Yeah, they're definitely going to build on the momentum that they had with the first one. So all the new characters look great. Domino looks great. Some of the other characters from the first one, even the taxi driver is back, which I thought was really funny. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm on IMDb right now, and it literally says untitled Deadpool sequel. And I had heard online that maybe that could potentially be the actual title of the movie.
It was untitled.
Is untitled Deadpool sequel instead of just Deadpool 2.
That's brilliant.
So whoever kind of theorized that, that's hilarious. And I feel like that's very Ryan Reynolds.
That's very Deadpool-y. That's very Deadpool-y. Yes. That's the new say. That's the new phrase.
That's the new, yeah.
You, sir, are not very Deadpool-y.
you need to
buck up there.
Exactly.
Okay. So another interesting trailer that just kind of dropped was we finally got a teaser for the new Venom movie.
It's a teaser, and it's important to point out that it's a teaser. To
differentiate between a teaser and a trailer.
Yes. What were your initial thoughts on the very brief glimpse that we saw?
Well, it's interesting how they rolled into it, because you start watching this thing and you're going, okay, I don't know what's going on. This is sort of a thing. And then, I see Tom Hardy laying in this thing and I'm like going, oh yeah, right on. This is for Venom. And I like how they did it. They kind of, they set it up. It's they sort of give you this sort of thriller kind of mystery movie. They don't show Venom at all. Which I think is smart on their part, because it just builds more anticipation for the movie. Mm-hmm. I think it might be a little bit confusing for people who don't know who Venom is. But I think when they do their full actual quote trailer, they'll glimpse them at the end of the trailer.
And I think that's what some people wanted,
but I think less is better.
Yeah, and I think you're in a very small minority with that, because a lot of people are just, show us Venom. And I get that, but it is a teaser, and everyone who was anticipating this teaser already know what Venom looks like. I understand you want to see what this incarnation kind of looks like, and I do too. And I was expecting just a little bit more, like even just like a shot of like the actual like goo like kind of going on him, not just some black veins that you barely see when he's laying down, when he's actually transforming, maybe not show the whole thing, but when it's kind of engulfing him. Mm-hmm. Like I would like that. That's a good shot. Now seeing this teaser, that's definitely going to be in the trailer. I mean, they're going to have to sell this, because when the trailer comes out, they're going to have to show a little more to get people that aren't particularly interested in this movie in the theater.
I wonder if they're a little bit apprehensive because of the stigmatism that just sort of hangs on the Spider-Man 3 movie back in the day.
That could be it.
That had Venom in it for a little bit, and it was just god awful.
But I will say that trailer for Spider-Man 3, when you see the Venom kind of crawling on him, I mean, that got so many people excited.
Right. But I think that's where they're kind of a little bit apprehensive, because they don't want to kind of duplicate pretty much that same trailer. I mean, Venom is a symbiote. That's how it's
always been,
and that's how he attaches himself, and that's how he does it. So I don't see them kind of working their way around it, but
Yeah.
you know, I think that maybe they might be a little apprehensive about it. But
Yeah, I get that.
That just could be my overactive big brain.
I like Tom Hardy. I like his voiceover that he has.
Yeah.
I think it's great. The movie looks really good. We got Michelle Williams. We got a quick glimpse of her. We have Riz Ahmed, who I'm excited for. I think I don't know if he's going to be a villain. He definitely is in that shot of he's opening up the door and there's the Venom kind of symbiote. You kind of see it going. So I'm excited to see him as well. And then we see some things flying and some kind of like, there's a shot of like all these people at desks and they all kind of like
get pushed out of the way.
Get kind of pushed. And people are kind of confused by that because some people are saying, you know, is he telekinetic? Is that kind of a new thing they're kind of doing? Or is that like an unfinished shot where it's no effects and it's actually all this like tentacles kind of
pushing everyone?
Is that it?
I don't think they would show something like that. That's a little misleading.
Or is it the villain? Is the villain kind of
I think it could be the villain.
So,
but then again, I mean, from the last thing that I looked at, it is confirmed that Carnage is going to be in the movie.
Yes. I mean, I don't know to what extent. I think he is going to. I think they are going to introduce that character, but as a villain, I don't know if that will be it.
Right.
Maybe towards the end, maybe the villain of this movie kind of creates Carnage from Venom, and that's kind of maybe the final battle or something. But I don't want Carnage to end here. You know,
no,
if they bring him,
if they
in
introduce
early
Carnage,
like this,
yeah, it's got to be.
Can't have it.
I think it's going to be at like the end of the movie. But I mean, if anybody out there is absolutely confused about what we're talking about, because I mean, I was confused about Venom and Carnage and all these different things. I definitely recommend going on YouTube. And there's a couple of channels on there. There's Comic Books Explain, and there's some others where they talk about the history of Venom and Carnage and all these things that are surrounded. And it's actually really interesting viewing.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of Venom. I mean, again, if you don't know what we're talking about, Venom is a Spider-Man character, kind of a Spider-Man villain who at times is also kind of an anti-hero. And that's the way they're kind of painting it in this movie, is that he's going to have some opposition that's going to force him to be kind of an anti-hero. And I'm excited to see if it's even related to the Sony Spider-Man universe, because there's been speculation or reports saying that Tom Holland, who plays the new Peter Parker, was in San Francisco on set for this movie. I'm not sure how true that is, but I think it's interesting.
Tom Hardy and Tom Holland. Tom Hardy, yeah. He's in the movie as Peter Parker. He's not in the movie as Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I just think it's very odd, but I think it's one of those things that we'll only know how far this kind of goes when we see the movie. So
I think it's going to be kind of like almost like a cameo. Like they both meet.
I don't even know if they'll meet.
But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I just hope that it's going to be just dark and gritty, and
it definitely looks like it.
Violent. It should be just violent, and they probably don't have a rating on this yet, but it should be rated R, if anything, if you're going to do this right. But we'll see how they do. Probably be PG-13.
I think that's what they want it to be. I think they want it to be R, but we'll see.
It should be, because this is not a bedtime story.
No, it's a scary bedtime story.
Well, it is if you really want to cause some trauma, but
yeah.
Looking forward to that. And,
yeah, definitely.
Later, coming up this week, we're gonna go see Black Panther.
Yeah,
so excited!
I'm so excited, dude.
It's gonna be phenomenal.
I keep trying to not watch the TV spots and the little things and the little clips that they put out, but I can't help it. Like, I just fall into that trap. I'm so excited for Killmonger. Michael B. Jordan. He's gonna be amazing. Lupita Nyong'o is going to be fantastic. I already know. I'm so hyped for this movie. And this past week, actually, the Black Panther album came out, and Kendrick Lamar did the whole album, and there's different guests on each song, and it's absolutely incredible. I've been listening to that nonstop, and it just kind of gets me in the mood for this movie, and I'm excited to see how some of the songs kind of pop up in the movie, and like fight scenes or chase scenes, or
I'll have to get that. Yeah.
So it's exciting. So yeah, that's this week.
That's what we're looking forward to. And then next week we will have our Black Panther review. We'll have, and this will be after opening weekend, so we'll have a spoiler and non-spoiler part to it.
Yeah, we'll give it a few days.
But yeah, looking forward to talking to you guys next week about it. And that's about it for this show.
Yeah. In the meantime, guys, email us at postproductionpod@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a like, comment. We want to hear your thoughts on all of these things. Cloverfield Paradox.
Yes.
Let's get it.
Yeah. Cloverfield Paradox. Check out End of the Fucking World. Fantastic.
Really great.
And we'll catch you next week with our Black Panther review.
Cool.
All right. Take care, guys. Have a good day.